here to provide services for your students to be as successful as possible. I think I truly understand as a parent the concerns and the need to want to be able to provide our students with as much success as possible, since my daughter is a first-year freshman here at A&M, and she's in the Mays Business School. So making sure that they're aware of the resources that are available to them and how they can achieve their academic success and reach their full potential, I know is always important. I'm going to first go over an overview of the Academic Success Center, but here working with me is Dr. Kathleen Speed, and she's also going to be working on the chat room if you have any questions, and she might also pop in if she has good insight to help clarify on any questions that you might have. Dr. Kathleen Speed works directly with our tutors as well as our supplemental instructors here through the Academic Success Center. Anyway, just to let you know, the Academic Success Center is actually made up of several different resources. And all of our goal is to enhance their academic performance. Many people just assume that within an Academic Success Center, it's only students that are having academic challenges can seek our services, and that is absolutely not true. We have a lot of people who come in here highly talented, their grades are good, but they're finding they might need help and just figuring out different ways to look at things, how to study, different study strategies. Maybe something's coming up in a class that they've never experienced before, and they're wanting to get different insight on how to manage their time, how to prepare for exams. So we work with all Aggies and helping them with their academic performance. And if they are experiencing any difficulties, you know, starting with us is really the best way to come in. Reaching out to us as soon as possible is the best way that we could provide them with resources as well as references to other on-campus resources that might be more appropriate for them to help them. We have an open door policy. If they can't make an appointment, they can always walk in and have an opportunity to then figure out how best we can immediately get them help until we could get them in for an appointment. Let's see. Okay, so in general, there's some basic habits that most college students tend to find to be helpful. A lot of them are finding that when they transition, into A&M, that the higher academic demands kind of throw them off, because when they're in high school, they're often asked to work at a level of basic understanding, knowledge, remembering, main points, concentrations. But in college, they're asking them to think more critically and at a higher level, so that they're looking at, can they apply the knowledge? Can they analyze it, evaluate, and create? So making sure that they go to each of their classes, and attendance is absolutely important. Attendance is actually the #1 predictor for success. Engaging in the class, working on and study their material a little bit for each class, a little bit throughout the entire week is extremely helpful. Coming in balanced, they want repetition and review, and they need to look at their on-campus resources. And actually their #1 resource on campus is going to their professor, communicating, establishing that type of relationship is absolutely important. We have a lot of students that come to us and they have never approached their professors before with any questions or concerns, and so we strongly encourage them in reaching out to them. Because it's the professors that ultimately are lecturing, creating the exams, as well as giving their final grades in the class. So we definitely want to be able to encourage them with other resources. Okay, Kathleen and I are doing a team effort here. Okay, but in regards to the ASC, the programs and services that we provide here is academic coaching. We have about 9 different academic coaches here, and all of us have a broad range of background and experience, For example, my experience, I'm a licensed psychological associate. I have my master's in clinical psychology. 18 years I did neuropsychology, working and doing evaluations for learning disabilities, ADHD, coping skills strategies, cognitive rehabilitation. We have other individuals here that have expertise in teaching, where they are academic teachers. They have their PhDs in various backgrounds, coaching backgrounds. So we all have a broad range of knowledge to pull from and resourcing. Academic coaching is more of a one-on-one type of interaction with the student. We have courses and workshops which highlight and work on specific skills and knowledge that might help them, as well as tutoring that's available on campus at 5 different locations. We work hand in hand with multiple departments through supplemental instruction and in partnership, not just with the departments, but in partnership with specific instructors. The ASC Academic Success Center also has the Texas Success Initiative Transfer Student Program. And if at any point in time anybody should ever need our resources, reaching out to us is absolutely, we're there for them, no problem at all. But the sooner the better. Okay. So in regards to the academic coaches, we have about 8 full-time coaches, 3 part-time. And what we do is the one-on-one appointments. Our first appointment is always a little bit longer at 45 minutes. And that's our opportunity to kind of get a better idea of what their questions, concerns are, what they're wanting to kind of get assistance in. And then we start figuring out how best we could provide that for them. A lot of the people who come into us, you know, just being able to talk through the concerns, having a point of contact to help them with finding other resources on campus is extremely helpful. We're a supportive and judgmental-free space, so working with them at any point in time as their needs arise is no problem at all. And what we do and how we do is based upon the individual needs of that student. Okay. As in regards to our SI and tutoring, we have supplemental instruction, and what that is we have peer-led instruction. So peers, students, fellow students on campus who have excelled in that area in content, they get specialized training in how to instruct and how to provide academic support for those, and then they work with the department and they're assigned a specific instructor, because even though you might have several teachers teaching the same content, they might present it at different speeds or put emphasis on different manners. So they work in partnership with a specific teacher. And what they do is they mirror the information that's being presented in the class. So SIs tend to meet 2 to 3 times a week, because what they go over is the information that had just been recently addressed in the class prior. So it gives the students another opportunity of repetition and review, and maybe presenting it in a different manner that might make more sense to them. And again, it's not a one-size-fits-all in that it's going to cover all this information. So coming to only one SI session won't benefit them as much as coming to multiple. I think that they've done various studies and they've shown on average, coming to about 10 SI sessions throughout the entire semester is going to have far more benefit than 1 or 2 sporadically. And again, I'm going to go ahead and defer to Dr. Speed, since this is her area of expertise, if she wants to add anything of that.
Great question that just came on the chat. Students pay for our SI and tutoring services, and actually most of our programs through their student fees. There's not an additional cost to attend SI sessions and tutoring. The great thing about SI is that we do know from the data that students who attend frequently earn about a half to a full letter grade. The other thing about SI, the SI leader is not there as a faculty member. It's not to supplant the course. Students still need to attend the class, but what they get to do in these sessions is work collaboratively with other students who are taking the class. So they don't re-lecture the information, but they may create quizzes. They may break them up into groups and have them work on a chart or create a timeline if this were a class that was like history based or something like that. Primarily our SI and tutoring are offered in the sciences, so chemistry, biology, physics. We do have a couple in the engineering 102. And then tutoring, we have 5 drop-in tutoring locations across campus this semester. We're in Zachary, we're in Evans, we're in White Creek, Hullabaloo, and the Commons. And you can look at our website to find the hours. We, again, primarily tutor in the STEM fields. So, you know, the math is one of our highest utilized courses, plus chemistry and biology. And we hire undergraduate students who've done well in those courses to provide that type of support. And that's really a great place to go if you do have a quick question over a topic from a course, you're not really sure how to work a particular type of problem. Our tutors are very good. We don't do homework for the students, but we can get to the same information on a homework problem by giving them other types of examples.
So that's a little bit more clarification on SI and tutoring, and the SI sessions and tutoring that are offered on campus, there is no additional fee. So there was one question that was mentioned on the group chat that when they reached out, they were informed that SI would cost anywhere from $9 to $15 an hour. They might be referring to an off-campus resource that is not an on-campus resource. On-campus resource has no additional fees. And your student will know if an SI is available by, again, referencing the Academic Success Center website, which is asc.tamu.edu, as well as at the beginning of the semester when they attend their class. That first week of class or so, the SI instructor will be standing up, waving their hand and introducing themselves and letting them be aware that SI is available within their class. So those are some ways that they could get additional exposure to the information and the support. Okay. Oops. We are moving on. So 2 other programs that we offer within the Academic Success Center is the Texas Success Initiative. And for some individuals coming in, they might not have as strong as a background as they need to be academic ready, whether it's in math or reading. So those classes kind of help get them up to speed and fill in the learning gaps so that when they go into their classes, that they are able to keep up with the academic demands. And then the transfer student program is also offered here. So any student transferring in from a community college or another university, their name and contact information is provided to our program here, and they will start reaching out to them to let them know that there is a community base here to help provide support, because even though they might have experience at a collegiate level coming to A&M, there might be different academic expectations than what they're used to. And establishing new peer programs and interactions and social connections are really important. So they do have peer mentors. They have social and academic programs. They also get together and they do community volunteer services also, so that they get familiar within the community and build that connection to the community as a whole besides the university. And those resources, they would reach out to them at the beginning of the semester. And whether or not if you have a transfer student, whether or not they want to continue to receive that information and that contact, that is up to them. But no, at any point in time, they're more than willing to come back out and reach out to them, and they would love to be able to help them. And a lot of our peer mentors are former transfer students that have successfully found their niche at A&M, and they want to give back to the other students coming in. So that's a brief general overview of the Academic Success Center. If there's any specific questions or concerns, we'll be happy to help anybody who might have anything. And also, I guess, since I can't hear any questions right now, let me kind of go a little bit more into maybe some of the workshops and the courses that we have. One of the courses that we have is called the ASC C101. And what it is it's a semester-long class where a student can earn 2 course credit hours. And during that time, what they do is they look at the different types of learning theories that are associated with different types of study strategies, time management skills, exam preparation. And again, the whole point is not just looking at what do we do, but what is the thought process behind it and why we do what we do. Okay. So that's ASCC 101, and that is a 2-hour course credit. And that is something, because you're receiving course credit hours, it is considered like a class. It would be paid with tuition fees.
You answered the question about making an appointment. How does a student make an appointment for academic coaching?
Okay. To make an appointment for academic coaching, you would go into, your student has a Navigate system, and they would access the Navigate system, and they could come in and they would pull up and they would look for academic coaching, and then they would pull up a day that they're interested in looking in, and then all the academic coaches' schedules are available on there, so they can see what times and days would best fit in their schedule. And the way the Navigate system works is it will not allow them to schedule an appointment that would conflict with their class time. So that way, because attendance is the #1 predictor for success, so that way when they do make an appointment, it's at a time that's convenient for them and they're not missing any classes for the appointments. But they have a broad range of options of days and times that work out best. We do offer 2 evenings each week in the night, the hours from 5 to 7. So I have some individuals, like I did work with Tuesday evenings from 5 to 7, and some of the individuals that come in, have families and they work. And so evening times tend to work out best for them. So we do have that available to try to accommodate all of our students and their schedules and everything like that.
So there's a question here about, there's a little bit of a wait time right now to get an appointment to see an academic coach. What can somebody do when they need help pretty quickly?
Well, one thing that they could do is they could come in as a walk-in, and they could walk into we are located on the 9th floor of Rudder Tower, and they would just come up to the front office and say that they're interested in coming in as a walk-on and as a walk-in, and then they would meet and have a brief meeting and kind of like a triage. And then we kind of get an information of what are the concerns, what's going on, and then we can work with trying to figure out a day and time that they could come in and get those needs met as soon as possible. So I know that the last time I worked with a walk-in who came in, I met with them for about 20 minutes, but during that time I was able to give them some resources to kind of carry them over until they met in, and worked with them specifically to get them in as soon as possible. So sometimes, yes, there is a wait period, but if they come in as a walk-in, we might have more flexibility to see what we can do to help.
Okay. So there's a question here about midterm grades and kind of, being a little concerned about your students' midterm grades. Well, couple of things. Midterm grades are not always representative of where a student will ultimately end up at the end of the semester. It could be that midterm grade is based upon one exam, and if the student didn't do well on that one exam, then that may be why they have that grade. Some faculty, I will tell you, they will enter just at the same grade for every student in the class, regardless of the grade that they earned. But if you are concerned, again, send your student to come see us at the Academic Success Center. Have them make an appointment to see one of our academic coaches. Also encourage your student to go visit with a faculty member to find out why they earned that particular grade on the midterm. And to encourage them to utilize the resources that we provide. So to continue to go to SI if we have it, or to tutoring if we provide that support. I saw another question that sort of related to that. We do have another website that we run called Study Hub. It's studyhub.tamu.edu, and I'll put that web address in the chat box here in a second. And basically what that is that if you go to Study Hub, and let's say you're looking for support in Chemistry 107, you can go to the subject area list, click on Chemistry, and then there you will find all of the different resources across campus that we are aware of where they provide support in Chemistry 107. We don't maintain all the different websites, but what we found is rather than sending somebody to the chemistry's website or the math department's website, we bring it to the hub, and then you can go to the hub to look for the information, and then that would take you back to the original source. So it's just kind of a more convenient way to locate all the different types of support that we have on our campus. So I see another question here. There's been some chatter on Facebook about students being turned away due to full sessions or being given out month appointments. Is this true, and what is the norm for the semester? So typically how far in advance or how far out do we have appointments?
So generally our appointments tend to be running about maybe around 2 weeks out. The only thing that I could think about in regards to full sessions was in reference to the Fresh Start orientation at the beginning when the workshops got full, and so they had to go to different sessions in order to get that done, accomplished. And that was just, workshops are another option available to academic coaching. So, and unfortunately, because of classroom space, we can only have so many students that are allowed within that workshop at a given time for a student to teacher ratio. So when you refer to full sessions, I'm making an assumption here that that's probably what that was referring to. So, but in regards to new appointments, I could tell you right now, I have a new appointment that is available next week. So again, it might not fit in your student's schedule. So that might be part of the reason why it's taking them a little bit longer to find an appointment time, because we really want them to attend class. You know, there's a lot of information that's shared within that class time. And unfortunately, I've had some students in the past who haven't routinely and consistently attended. And so as a result, they were capable, they were very talented, but they weren't made aware of changes in the assignment expectations, or made aware of changes in dates or locations for exams. So that's why we do not want to schedule any type of appointments that would conflict with their class schedule. Okay, so so with the workshops, in regards to, at the beginning of each semester, we have workshops because some departments might encourage students that they feel are capable and talented but might not be reaching their full potential to maybe seek assistance, and they might encourage them to come to a Fresh Start orientation. And the different workshops available are Commit to Success, and that really focuses on learning good fundamental skills to help them be successful within the school environment: time management, active study strategies, exam preparation, how to balance more than one exam or project assignment that is due and hitting within a short amount of time. Other people have that knowledge already, but they are lacking the motivation or self-discipline necessary to do the follow-through on it. So in that case, we have Motivation Matters. We also offer a workshop called Grit. So if somebody has had some type of failure in the past, and that's kind of really impacting them, they're having a hard time working through that and having a fear of failure, is what do they need to do to be resilient and setting goals and working through those fears of concern and to refocus. We also have group coaching that's available. So it's like individual coaching, but it's more within a group setting, and it does not exceed 8 people. And the group really enjoys themselves because it's not just teaching or one-on-one, they're sharing and collaborating their ideas and different resources and what they found have been helpful to them in the past. So they really kind of develop a good friendship with their group members in the group coaching environment. And then obviously we have academic coaching, but those workshops, yes, we want to ensure that people have access to them when they could get the most benefit. So we only offer them the beginning of the semester so that they can actually utilize the information that they're being learned or taught or approached to be used. So yes, when, again, that reference back to full sessions, once one session got full, maybe of commit to success, then the next session opened up. So they might have had to wait a couple of weeks because each session was 2 weeks at a time.
So here's another great question. What's the difference between being busy and productive? And this is a question that I work with my students when I'm teaching the ASC C101 class. Part of this has to do with also being distracted. And what I always encourage students to do is try to put themselves in environments where they're not going to be distracted. So turn your cell phone off, put your laptop away so that you can deeply focus and concentrate, because we can be really efficient in our time if we kind of put ourselves in that environment. I know, and I've heard stories, I'm not really familiar greatly with architecture, but I do hear that in architecture, students do spend a lot of time working in their studios on projects. I think the other part of that, though, is that students do need to take a little bit of time each day just to make sure that they're being mentally and physically and emotionally healthy. So, making sure that they have a little bit of time each day to do something that they enjoy. So, if you have to encourage your student to get out of the studio for a little bit and go and, do something that's healthy or emotionally satisfying. I also think it's about finding that balance between working as a student and also your personal and your health and well-being. So trying to find that good balance there.
And I know in academic coaching, that's one of the things that we really focus on, because a lot of the students do, their priorities are so out of whack in their balance that they are only focusing on academics, and that's putting a lot of emotional strain on them and pressure, and they're not having the opportunity to get that release. And so taking time to take a break and using your time wisely, we focus a lot on quality of studying, not necessarily quantity. So make sure that our time is the best studying that you can do, making sure you take the breaks, making sure that after you've studied so long at a certain point in time that you take a significant and meaningful break so that you're not just going through the motions, you're getting good quality work done. I think we're sharing the wrong.
Are we sharing the wrong screen? Hang on just a second.
We were organized. We were good. So let's see. Let's go back to
Stop share.
Stop share. Let's go back to chat for a little bit. Oh, the core. Okay. So yes, the core. Yes, the core has a lot of time commitments that is built in, and depending upon their individual unit, they might have different expectations. I know that they build in a lot of all of them in the evening, study hours in the evening, but those study hours might not always be in the best studying environment for your individual student, being in the dorm room. So what I tell a lot of my core members is they need to utilize their time during the day, because the core during the daytime, when they have it's like 8 to 5 essentially, during that time when they have classes, they can't come in and say, you must do this and that. So they need to make sure that they are utilizing their time during the day, studying in maybe at Evans Library. A lot of people find the annex to the library to be a wonderful study environment so that they get their best quality work done before they wait for study hours in the evening. I know a lot of my core members also indicate that they are exhausted from waking up early in the morning with PT. So making sure, again, that they get their work done during the day so that it allows them an opportunity to go to sleep at a reasonable time is very important, because unfortunately they get into a cycle or a pattern that could throw them off. If they're staying up late trying to get work done, then and waking up early, then they're frequently wanting to take naps during their free time during the day. And as a consequence, they're not being productive, or by just they hit snooze one too many times and they accidentally miss classes. So again, if they could get their study hours done during the bulk of the day when they have time between classes on campus, they would be better served in the evening time, and it will allow them to go to sleep better.
Going back to an earlier question about, well, how might I minimize my distractions when I'm in an area where there's a bunch of people? I do know a lot of students have earbuds, and I think that I think it serves a couple of different purposes. One is so they can quietly listen to music, but that is another way to kind of put yourself in your own space. And so I do know some people also maybe trying to put yourself in a part of the room where there's not as much going on, or turn your back to the majority of the people. Not that you're trying to be rude, but you can better able focus and concentrate if you're not constantly looking around and looking in to see what everybody else is doing. I see that some programs require 4.0 to be admitted. And then they're taking those, extremely difficult courses. Again, come and utilize our tutoring and our SI services if we're providing support in those particular classes. Come and visit with an academic coach to kind of get a sense about how to sort of manage and balance all of those multiple priorities.
But I do know that they've been working a lot with the nursing program, and in providing different types of tutoring opportunities and stuff with the nursing program in particular.
Yeah, we are doing SI in 2 classes this fall, and the attendance in those nursing classes has been quite good.
Right, and you're exactly right. The sciences are challenging. And I'm not exactly sure what the minimum amount, if the 4.0 is accurate, in order to transfer over there, but it doesn't surprise me that they have a high expectation of overall GPA standards to be considered into the program.
Yeah. So there's another question about roommates and studying. This is another one of those topics that we spend a lot of time talking about. It's just finding that best environment where you can deeply focus and concentrate. I know that I have had students, and I'm one of these also myself, that I find it very difficult to study in my room or at home. There's just always so much to do. So I like to remove myself and, head to the library, for example. I think if there's a difference in study habits and patterns, like one of the roommates is a morning person, the other one's an evening person, it's always just best to address that directly with the roommate, to kind of sit down and just talk and figure out, so, hey, how can we both sort of coexist together? I know sometimes it's, difficult to have those conversations, but I think those are important conversations to have, to kind of figure out how to best accommodate each other in that living situation. I know that there's probably Residence Life probably has some really good resources for dealing with roommate issues and concerns that you may be able to go and visit with them regarding that type of situation.
Now, one comment here is my student is a bit reluctant to get parental advice at this point, and she feels like she's all grown up. I totally understand. And I think at times my daughter feels like not only is she totally grown up, but she's been there, done it already, since she's grown up in the the community of College Station. So she's been around A&M for so long. I have found with her is if I'm just upfront saying, hey, listen, I just want you to humor me. Just hear me out. It's important that you make sure you balance your time, whatever advice I want to give. But I have always found that to be more successful and her more receptive if I'm just upfront with it, saying, just hear me out, let me say my piece, and then please take it and use it the way it's helpful to you or not. But I have found that tends to work out best. And at least with my daughter in particular, she won't frequently understand how relevant that information might be or helpful until she experiences it, where she could then fall back on that knowledge or resource. So I'm sharing it, and it's more like it's out there. Please take it for what it's worth.
Okay. There's a question about engineering. I do know that in the Engineering 102 course, they do hire, the engineering department has peer mentors. Trying to think of what they actually call them. They don't call them peer mentors, but peer leaders, peer teachers. They're located over in the Zachary building. We do provide some tutoring in Engineering 102. Our tutoring location in Zachary is located catty corner to the Starbucks. So they can always go there. Our tutoring hours in Zachary are 6 to 10, Monday through Thursday.
Do you discourage a parent attending a walk-in with the student if the student would like parental support? I understand that they're young adults and they need to figure it out on their own, but they would like the personally, if this is something that your child has reached out to you and they would like you to participate in it, then I think it's absolutely appropriate to come in. But I would strongly encourage them during the appointment for them to have their own voice and let them kind of put in their own words, their concerns and their areas of interest in getting it. But if they're reaching out to you and asking to have that support, by all means, come in. Do you have any other thoughts, Kathleen?
Oh, no. And when I have parents in my office, I always don't think I'm not trying to talk to you. I always look and I talk directly to the student because I think Julie said, we want to hear what the student has to say. And encourage them to kind of articulate what their concern is. But, typically I don't have a problem as long as the student is there with the parent. It's difficult to talk to parents without the student being present. I think there was a question earlier about attendance and performance due to FERPA. We're really restricted in the types of information that we can provide to parents. I'm reading another one. I'm a professor and going to talk to the professors. I'm the daughter of a professor, and I can tell you it is intimidating to go and talk to faculty. I always encourage students when they want to go talk to faculty, write down on a piece of paper the questions that you need answers to. So try to have a pretty good idea about how you want that conversation to go. If you're struggling with a particular problem, go in there saying, this is sort of where I'm getting stuck. Can you help me figure out where my gap is? Versus I just, saying that I just don't understand that. Go in with a goal in mind to kind of help them. I do think going and talk to your faculty is probably number one in my book in terms of getting support with the content in the class. I do know that sometimes faculty, their office hours conflict with classes, and I always encourage my students to email the faculty member to say, hey, I would like to come see you, but I can't because I have a class. Is there another day and time that would be helpful where I can meet with you? The students, unlike in high school, they have to be their own advocate. They have to reach out and make these contacts. And I know that that can be really scary. It can be intimidating. And just really support your student in that reaching out to those people on campus.
Now, there was a question here when it says parents should not attend the meeting with the student. When I was reading the chat, I was reading it in reference to them coming into the Academic Success Center as a walk-in.
Yeah.
And as a walk-in to the Academic Success Center, if they want the parental support, that's fine. But I agree with the comment here that when they're meeting with their individual professors to talk about the content, they need to do that themselves. And just like Kathleen, Dr. Speed said, they really need to go in with a game plan in mind, and that they're going in with purpose and intent, because not only will it help them get more resources and assistance in their area of questions or concerns, but it's also demonstrating to the professor the amount of effort that they're putting in to truly understand the content. And it also helps them make sure that their time when they're meeting together is really as productive as possible. My student has not seen any midterm grades as of now. Is that normal?
It depends on what their classification is. I think if they're in less than 30 hours, I do believe that they would get midterm grades. Is that still correct?
Yes. If it's underneath 30 hours, then all the students will receive midterm grades. If it's anything above that hour-wise, it is only those that are absolutely required to receive them. I could tell you, my husband he works in the athletic department here at A&M, and he's teaching his first class in sports management. And he was trying to enter in midterm grades, and he was frustrated because he was trying to get all the grades entered, but they were only allowing him to enter the grades for those students because it was a higher level class of those that were required, whether it was through academic purposes, financial aid, grant purposes. So for those who are not, who are exceed 30 hours, then they might not be required to have midterm grades submitted for that particular class. And there was no way we could override the system, even if he wanted to give them. But the students always have access through their eCampus, through Howdy, their grade books in all of their classes to see what are their current grades in those classes for the stuff that has been graded. So they always have access to their grades.
I think for the most part, okay.
The bad weather is not considered a university excused absence. So it would really be basically up to the discretion of the professor, whether they would do that. Personally, unless it's absolutely torrential, and A&M really monitors this stuff. I know, again, with my husband with athletics, they get every 2 to 3 days, they get the National Weather Service updates. And if at any point in time the university feels that it's an unsafe environment for the students, they will cancel classes. And they have been known to cancel classes. And it's not just for the students. If they feel like the bus transportation can't travel safely to and from to get the students to and from campus or even around campus, they will adjust the classes or the schedules or cancel classes for the day if they find it's unsafe for them. But again, as for bad weather, unless it's not a university excused absent, and it's up to the discretion of the individual professor.
So is it acceptable for a student to make an appointment with a professor at the beginning of the semester just to establish a relationship? Oh, absolutely. I always encourage my students to go and meet their faculty, and they can do that even before or after class. A lot of faculty don't mind walking and talking. I think it's always a good idea to put yourself out there and be willing to go and talk to your professor and create that relationship.
Yeah, relationships and communication and rapport is absolutely key. And for some of my, even my more experienced students that come in as juniors and seniors who've never really taken the opportunity, I try to frame it as this is a networking opportunity. these are the individuals, especially as they get older within their field, that are the ones that you want to be tapping their brains about opportunity. You want to be having them in your corner if you need a reference for you. So establishing that type of relationship is always important. I think somebody also asked a question in regards to how does a student know if the schedules have been changed due to bad weather. They will put an alert out through the student system through Code Maroon that tells them that, as well as every single local television station here will be putting up a list of A&M and local community surrounding school district schedules.
Yeah, we had a couple of icy days, I don't know, several years ago, and on the main A&M page, they actually put some information about the university being closed due to weather related. So there's many ways that students would be notified in the event that there's a university-wide cancellation.
You know, one thing I want to mention about getting to know your professors, I have a lot of people who come in that are taking online courses, and they feel that because it's an online course that they really don't have the opportunity to reach out to their professors, and that's so false. The professors love it when they interact with them. If they email them, they'll respond, but more importantly, they have the ability still, even if it's an online course, to, if they're locally, to schedule an appointment time to meet with them and go in face to face. And I have found all my students who have reached out to their online professors and they've met with them, especially face to face, that they have found that unbelievably helpful, and that it really helps give them a better opportunity to see how to work the system and how best to study and prepare for the online classes that they're working with. So just don't consider it a lecture in-person class to reach out to. If your student has online classes, also see developing that relationship with them too.
I think that we have pretty much exhausted the questions that we've seen in the chat feature, and we really appreciate the fact that there's another professor who's providing feedback. So if you're just now joining us, be sure to read through the chat, because I also think the other comments have been very helpful.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I want to say thank y'all for participating and giving us so many great tips for student success. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, feel free to read the comments to learn a little bit more, or this is recorded, so we will post this later, and you can find it on our Facebook page, New Student and Family Programs, so tune in there. But I do want to give a reminder that we will have another web chat. It's going to be on November 12th, a Tuesday, from 12 to 1 p.m. And that's going to cover counseling and psychology services. So we hope to see y'all then. Until then, thanks and gig 'em.